Hello, podcast listeners. You have stumbled upon a really great episode. This is the first episode we've ever done that will require you, the listener, to have a little bit of interaction to make this something special. So I don't want to get too much into it because you're going to enjoy it. Also, I'm going to give you a pitch of my favorite children's book that was published almost 100 years ago. All of this and more on today's episode of JJ Meets World.
1, 2, 3, 4. J.J. Gordon, sort of like that Indiana Jones, in that he's always sniffing out his next adventure. Yes, he is! He's always interviewing guests so he can have them on his show and they can talk about pop culture, arts, and leisure. J.J. has his flag unfurled and he likes his french fries curled, and he's fun and then he twirled as he goes to meet the world. He will march into the rain even if his ankle sprained. Take a peek inside his brain. This podcast is called J.J. Meets World.
At the height of the Great Depression, a children's book is written by Virginia Lee Burton, and it features a man named Mike Mulligan, a steam shovel operator, and his steam shovel named Mary Ann. It's considered a classic favorite of children's literature, and it's based on a 2007 online poll. The National Education Association ranked it as one of its top teachers' books for children. After many years of working successfully together, Mike and his classic steam shovel Mary Ann face competition from more modern gasoline, electric, and diesel motor shovels. Seeking an area of the country where its classic steam shovel can find work, Mike finds a small town that is about to build a new town hall. The authorities react with disbelief when Mike claims that he and his steam shovel Mary Ann can dig the cellar in a single day. They protest that it would take 100 men a full week. Mike insists that Mary Ann can finish the job in one day, though privately, he has some doubts. At sunup the next day, Mike and Mary Ann begin work and just complete the task by sundown, but they neglected to dig a ramp for driving out of the construction pit. Oh, no!
No!
A watching child suggests that Mike...
Classic mistake.
Right. A watching child suggests that Mike take the job of janitor for the town hall and that Mary Ann should be converted into a boiler for the town's heating system. So Mike and his steam shovel are still able to work.
This is a pretty flexible machine. Well, what did it do first? Well, it dug a hole. Well, now what is it? Well, it's like the steam for the building.
Well, so the beauty of
boiler.
this, that's what boiler technology was. Boiler technology, and then you just put it into different things that operated different ideas. So it was essentially the engine. I just happened to be up at the Minnesota Steam Threshers reunion. Have you ever been up there?
No.
It is.
Why would I be up there, JJ?
Because it's amazing.
Have I ever threshed?
I don't know. I don't know.
Steam.
I know you've steamed. You've steamed. We've all steamed at one point. But I saw a real live steam shovel that looked just like Mary Ann from Mike Mulligan and the Stennis Steam Shovel. Did you ever read this book as a kid?
No, I was thinking it was got some John Henry vibes to it when he's laying down tracks versus the locomotion machine.
Lest we forget, that's the same idea as Paul Bunyan too. Paul Bunyan faced off against an electric.
Did Pecos
saw.
Bill?
No. You're just putting together the people from the Disney movie where they're all together.
I actually wrote...
No, because Pecos Bill, his big thing was he roped tornadoes.
Roped tornadoes.
Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, Paul Bunyan had a bunch of things that were Paul Bunyan's thing, right? He was a giant. He had the Babe the Blue Ox.
Mm-hmm.
He loved flapjacks. Mm-hmm. And so all those things I remember. I actually didn't remember the fact that he has to fight up against an industrial machine.
Yeah.
But that is sort of the whole shtick of John Henry, who I believe... Doesn't John Henry die?
Yeah, he works himself to death. Paul Bunyan, I also believe, loses, and that's why he and Babe take off for the north, and their wrestling makes the lights, the northern lights.
After I saw Tall Tale, which is sort of a precursor to the Avengers, if you think about it.
Oh, definitely,
absolutely.
Bringing all those together, shared universe,
shared universe, the Tall Tale universe. I must have been in 4th grade, I think, and then I remember I had to write a story for class, and so I wrote a story about Pecos Bill and John Henry getting into a fight, and they both died. It was like a feudal thing. Like, they both didn't make it. And then Paul Bunyan, like, coming upon the scene and crying about it. I distinctly remember writing like this big battle between those two characters.
Here's a tease. Do you remember who played? Is it Annie Oakley?
I didn't remember she was in it.
Right? Yeah, I believe it's Annie Oakley. My little cactus flower. I believe that was played by Catherine O'Hara in Tall Tale.
Okay.
And we talk about Catherine O'Hara during the podcast.
That's
today.
right. Patrick Swayze is Pecos Bill. What's his name?
Oliver Platt.
Oliver Platt
as Paul Bunyan.
Although he's not giant, he's just, it's like, oh, the tale says that I'm a giant, but I'm not actually a giant. I can't remember who played John Henry, though. I can't remember the actor's name.
I don't remember. And I'm
not sure if he did
kid
much
who
after
played
that.
the son, I remember, was in other things too, but I don't remember. And I don't remember who the villain was.
Yeah.
I know
It's
they
been a
wanted
long time.
They were building a train, and it was going to go through his family's
That might
property.
be the next movie that we have to do after what we do today.
Okay, so full disclosure, here's what we do during the podcast today. We take one of my all-time favorite movies, The Nutty Professor from 1996, starring Mr. Eddie Murphy, and Tucker and I do a live commentary to it. Now, you can listen to this in one of two ways, two experiences. Number one, you could listen to it and probably just enjoy what's going on.
Yep.
Or you can sync up a screening of The Nutty Professor and watch it while we commentary over it. If you're going to do that and you're really looking for something to do, why not watch The Nutty Professor once the whole way through and then watch it with our commentary?
And we'll help you after the jump here match it up. So JG will give you a verbal cue, and that's when we press play, and that's when you can press play. If you do not have a home copy of The Nutty Professor, which what are you doing? Why don't you have that on
I've got it
VHS?
in 3 different variations.
You can find it for rental on YouTube, Google Play, Amazon, iTunes. It's out there on the internet. You can get a hold of it pretty easily. But we did record this podcast so that you don't need to watch the movie at all.
Right. And we make sure to take care of you when it comes to it. But I will tell you this. I mean, you could buy The Nutty Professor and The Nutty Professor 2 on DVD at Target for $5.
Is that going to be in like the double disc barrel bin? Do you think?
I don't know. Maybe.
I would assume it would be because I can't imagine they would have that on the shelf still.
Oh, they might. I mean, here's the thing.
What year was this? 93?
96. But here's the thing.
Over 20 years ago.
But there's that end cap that's over by the grocery side that's got Little Rascals and Babe.
Okay.
And so it's like the nostalgia factor, right? And it's $5.
Those
So-
are a little more family friendly than the Nutty Professor.
Think so?
I think so.
I think Hocus Pocus is usually a part of that deal.
Oh, Hocus Pocus.
We should do a Hocus Pocus one too because you know someone from Hocus Pocus.
I wanted to be the cat.
Oh, really?
Salem? Or no, what was
Salem?
it? Was his name Salem? That was
that's
the name
from
for
Binks.
Binks.
Thackeray Binks.
I wanted to be a cat so bad after seeing that. I was like,
Really?
that'd be awesome if you could transform into a cat. That'd be sweet. And then you just roam the streets at night with your night vision that cats have, and then at day be back to a human.
Whatever happened to that kid? Because he went on to do Erie, Indiana, which is one of my favorite series, and then he just like disappeared.
I know someone in Hocus Pocus.
Yeah. He's a physical performer. The guy who played Billy has been to the Fargo Theater Film Festival like a couple times, right?
He touched the top of my head. What is his name? Yeah, he's
Is
been
it
in a million.
Doug?
He was just in that Fish in the Water where the lady falls in love with the fish movie. Whatever that one's
Lady
called.
in the Water.
It's not Lady in the Water.
Your favorite movie.
I forget what that one's called.
The Shape of Water.
The Shape of Water.
Yeah.
He's in
Doug Jones.
Doug Jones. There we go. Okay, that's
Mr.
right.
Doug Jones.
That's right. I
plays
can't say
Billy.
I know him. He said, "Oh, hi, my puppy," which is what he does. He calls people his fans his puppies.
Oh, really?
That's what he does. And he'll pet your head and go, "Oh, sweet puppy."
He even gets like a speaking part in Hocus Pocus,
Once
which
he cuts
is
the bands on
which
his
is
mouth.
really unheard of. Yeah, and it's wench, trollop. And he goes, "I've been waiting centuries to say that. Say whatever you want, just don't breathe on me."
That is such a good movie. I feel like, oh yeah, that was probably the first time that I noticed that a scene that's in the trailer didn't make it into the movie.
Oh, what was the scene?
I can't remember exactly. I'll have to go back and look at it now. But I remember specifically thinking, hey, that's not in the movie.
Okay.
So I have to go back and figure out what that is. That's Sarah so it's Bette Midler.
Yep.
Kathy
Najimy, Sarah Jessica Parker.
Sarah Jessica Parker. That's what I was trying to say. Yeah, great movie. Anyways, The Nutty Professor.
Yeah, so you're gonna enjoy this. I've got some deep feelings about the Nutty Professor because it really speaks to me as somebody who's overweight. And this movie, I think, is very sentimental. You're going to note that I get way into it. It's also one of my favorite movies to watch with our mutual friend, Sean. Sean loves this movie. And there is a lot to love in the Nutty Professor.
When I first saw it, I was a kid. And I wasn't overweight then. And now that I am overweight and I watched it again, like it definitely had a different effect on me.
Right?
Going through it. Absolutely.
I also, if anyone is interested, it could probably steer you in a direction of a YouTube playlist that will include some of the sound score to this movie, which is just wonderful. Good stuff. I guess let's not take any more time. Let's get you straight into this thing. But I do want to remind you of one quick thing here, folks. We got a Patreon account. Thank you so much to the folks who've already donated to our Patreon. But if you could get behind it,
thank you so much.
It makes such a big difference. We have studio rental. We've got equipment upgrades. And for this, I had to buy a digital copy of The Nutty Professor because I don't have a disc drive. But thank God we own that now.
Our goal is to get $250 a month. If we can get to that goal, that's the cost to us to produce this every month. 2 episodes a week, a ton of free content coming to you. And we're not going to stop, but boy, would being able to help cover the cost of doing this help go a long way. Plus, once we can get there, we can start reinvesting in the show. We can, maybe bring some video cameras in. Maybe we can do more microphones, bigger guests, better sounding stuff. There's all sorts of stuff that we could do.
We could get Nutty Professor to the Clumps and do a live commentary for that. Maybe we could get someone associated with one of these movies to come in here and be a part of this. Yeah. So that's it. That's hat in hand. We appreciate it. Enjoy this episode of JJ Meets World.
Patreon.com/JJ Meets World.
I said that we're done. I said that was enough.
I didn't hear that part.
We're done. I said we're done.
Patreon.com/JJ Meets World.
Roll the footage.
JJ Meets World.
All right, podcast listeners, here we go. What I'm going to do is say 3, 2, 1, and then click. So that's how you know it's time to listen and you can sync yours, okay? 3, 2, 1, click. All right, this is the
awesome,
I guess, live stream of The Nutty Professor starring Eddie Murphy, the Universal logo. Now, this is pre-75th anniversary of the Universal logo, if you remember that.
It's Universal, but they show a planet. That doesn't make sense. That should just say Earth.
Earth Pictures?
Earth.
The Imagine Entertainment logo. Just a drop in the bucket.
I'm trying to remember what year this came out.
Oh, I think this is 97. I think it was the same summer that Hercules came out because I made my own double feature one day.
Oh, I loved Hercules so much. Even though James Woods is a disgusting guy, his Hades is really good.
Here is Eddie Murphy in Whiteface. If you did not know that, this is him playing the character of Lance Perkins, who's the workout guy.
Oh, I had no idea that was Murphy.
Yeah. Like a pony when you sweat.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
I never caught that.
Yep. So this is another great example of the Murphy films where he plays multiple characters.
Okay.
Coming to America is notable, one of them. This is one of my all-time favorite movies. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that was... I mean, there's a lot in that list, but...
This always I thought was funny, that little pig that like oinks at you when you open the fridge so that to remind you don't be a pig. You don't want to be an oinker. The makeup effects in this movie are some of the most amazing makeup effects I've ever seen in a movie in my life. I think they just nail the obese Sherman Clump.
Now, this is a remake.
It's a remake.
Correct, of a Jerry Lewis movie?
Of a Jerry Lewis movie.
And now, in his movie, though, he's not a fat guy, right?
No, he's a super nerd.
Yeah.
And then he becomes sort of a Dean
Chappelle
Martin.
is in this? Dave Chappelle is in this?
Dave Chappelle has a great role. Now, before we started, you asked me if this is the one where the hamster assaults the guy.
Hamster just crawled up that guy's leg.
Yep. Wiener joke right at the beginning of this thing. So I didn't piece it together until now, but hamsters play a prominent part in both of these movies. Also, This is an insane number of hamsters in
That's a
this
lot.
movie, don't you think?
That's probably there's no CG there because this was
No.
not a time where they'd go, let's CG all the hamsters, and they look better.
This was a magical time where it was more costly. Larry Miller right here playing the dean. Larry Miller is one of the greatest character actors of all time. So
Agreed.
this is a time when it was cheaper to have actual physical effects versus bringing in CGI for
Got it.
something. So you'll note that in this movie, the CG that they do use during Sherman's transformations, it's a little rough. and it definitely was only used when they absolutely had to.
Now, if this movie had been made today, there would be a lot of posts about fat shaming and stuff
Yep.
going on with
Yep.
it. Because the whole gag is that he is a fat guy.
But here's the thing. It is not a gag in this movie. This is why I'm going to say something very bold here. I think Eddie Murphy actually deserved an Oscar nomination.
The hamster coming out
this
the butt
movie.
right there. Richard Gere joke.
Come on. He was Cindy Crawford's husband at the time. Here you go. This is great. See, now, this is what people would be outraged about. You know. Oh, my
Ruined a perfectly
goodness.
good sandwich.
Uh-huh. Ends
Yep.
up in that woman's mouth.
So was he doing experiments on the hamsters, and they all got loose then?
The experiment. So
Goodness, that is a shit ton of hamsters to
I
make
know,
an entire
right?
like college campus go ape.
a lot of hamsters. So this character is sort of based off of the original Jerry Lewis character, his assistant here. Oh, his fat butt opens all the cages. How could he have not have noticed that? That's the one problem I have with this entire movie. Not the science, that he wouldn't have noticed the large slamming noise of all the cages.
The idea is that he did that on his way out the night prior.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's why they all got out. But they all seem to have pooled together until now. I believe Stan Winston made this fat hamster effect. So the whole what I was going to get at is, you know, you talked about fat shaming,
I love
right?
computer screens in movies. Sorry. I love how they don't look like any computer screen. Go ahead.
And the like wire structure here. Her entire molecular structure.
It was realigned.
Oh, Shelley. You're so fat.
So that's a physical effect right there?
Yeah.
Because that's a really good physical effect.
It is, isn't it? A little tiny like animatronic hamster. And they don't want to up the dosage because they don't want to possibly hurt Shelley.
He's going to do it with his butt again, isn't he? Yep.
Good.
Didn't notice it.
Yep. Good Arsenio Hall reference. Boy, who would have thought those might have been dated at one point?
Dean Richmond. Now, he is the dean, right? His
dean.
His first name isn't Dean.
It could be Dean Richmond.
Do you think anyone who's named Dean is like, I hope I never become a dean of anything?
I know one dean. No, I know two deans. How many deans do you know? I mean, two men named Dean. I know numerous deans of colleges and universities.
I don't know any that I can think of.
So Larry Miller, one of my favorite movies he's in is called Frozen Assets. It's got Shelley Long. It's about a guy who inherits a sperm bank.
Is that possible?
Yeah.
Can you be bequeathed my private sperm bank?
Yeah, and so he goes to run it. It's one of the guys from Major League. Yeah, it's fun.
Gotcha.
What I think Eddie Murphy does here, which I really appreciate, is he plays a fat person.
Yeah.
Without going for these over-the-top fat gags that just make fun of people being fat.
Yeah.
He dives down into this character and actually finds the real feeling of what it's like to be obese.
Yeah.
I'll highlight the scene where I think that his Academy Award nomination should have come from, and like the clip they should have played when he was nominated for
what
it.
was he nominated for? It was
Dreamgirls.
Dreamgirls.
Which I don't think was his best role.
No.
Of all. I think that there's a problem when sometimes people are nominated for roles
Yeah.
that are not their best. For example, The Departed is, in my opinion, not Martin Scorsese's best movie, but it's the movie he has an Oscar for.
Yeah,
right?
because it's not just people voting on a basis of movie quality. That's certainly part of it, but there are a lot of other factors that are involved. If someone is a young filmmaker or actor, they're less likely to because poop in the coffee. Yes, that hamster pooped twice in the coffee. Yes, and he's not going to say anything about it. I love this already.
He's going to try, though. He's gonna try.
This actually reminds me of a scene. Is it Mouse Hunt?
Yeah.
Where Christopher Walken has a bit part as like an exterminator,
an extreme exterminator,
and he eats some of the mouse poop to like know something
he's
about
like male, and then he's trying to stop him.
We could really we could make like a nice supercut of scenes in movies where people are about to drink something disgusting and someone's trying to stop them. So
and build the tension.
Yeah, so like Austin Powers when he drinks liquid shit and he thinks it's
yep.
he thinks it's something else.
Which is weird because why would they have liquid poop? Right? Like they just
Have you never had liquid poop?
No,
because he thought they were analyzing Fat Bastard's stool.
Yeah,
and he
right?
thought it was a coffee maker that they were analyzing it in, and like he poured it out.
Right. But I'm wondering why they had to liquefy Fat B's poop.
Well, I think his poo was already partially liquid, wasn't it? No, it was. They had a floater.
Yeah,
that's right.
And they had to pull something out of it. One thing I really like about this too is Sherman is extremely intelligent, but he's also extremely emotional too. He's a guy who acknowledges it's not like he thinks that he is a Lothario. He, in fact, is so worried about his weight and what people think of him that it gives him a really sweet quality, a really sensitive quality, in my opinion.
It's kind of amazing that someone like Eddie Murphy, who is known pretty much to be an asshole, can do something like that.
When they made Nutty Professor 2 The Clumps, which is a very unfortunate sequel, they're like, hey, we loved the family scenes. Why don't we just do a whole movie of family scenes?
No.
There's a great photo I remember from Entertainment Tonight where it took too much to get him in and out of this makeup, right? Same thing with Jim Carrey when he was playing the Grinch.
Yeah.
So they would have lunch together in the commissary on
Murphy
Murphy and Carey on the Universal lot. And so there's some great pictures of Sherman Klump and the Grinch having lunch together. And unfortunately, the only thing you can find now is an extremely small screenshot.
We're going to get some pants tear?
No.
Or a fart?
Nope.
We're looking at his butt.
He gets to check out Miss Purdy, played by Jada Pinkett Smith. I don't know if she was Smith yet. She's probably just Jada Pinkett.
Probably just Jada Pinkett at that point. I forgot it was her.
Was it this and then Scream 2 together?
Matrix Reloaded.
I hated that movie.
That was really bad. It sucks because I remember sitting through the first one and being blown away by it.
Sure. I think what happened with The Matrix was this. You guys, this movie made a ton of money. We're so excited to make another one. Yeah, we are too. What the fuck are we going to do? Miss Purdy. Does she... Oh, I was trying to think. She was in the movie The Girls Trip, but she never really got lead roles, did she, Jada Pinkett Smith?
Not that I can recall. I mean, certainly not, I don't think, on mainstream stuff, which is too bad because she's pretty awesome.
Because they replaced her in Nutty Professors too. They have Janet Jackson instead.
That's right. Is it the same character?
No, it's a different character. Yeah.
Okay.
Like he could land two major hotties by just being a
being
nerd,
himself.
You know.
See, the thing, I think one thing that you could call out here, and certainly you can take away from it whatever you want, but we're okay with a male protagonist who's overweight, but his love interest better be pretty.
Yep.
Right? Like, she couldn't be a normal human being. She has to be something on a pedestal for him.
Right.
And while, I don't want to necessarily say this is a bad movie because of that, it's not, but that's definitely something that we see a lot.
Yeah.
A ton.
I think that the movie Shrek actually fought that. Oh, here we go.
Here we go.
He plays everyone except for his nephew
Can we brighten
at
up
this
the screen
table.
at all? Is there any brightening?
Brightening? Okay, sure. I got a brightening
I
thing
would love
here. Here we go.
to see more. Oh, there we go.
We had to brighten our screen here.
There we go.
So he plays his brother who, after this movie, Charlie Murphy became pretty famous because of the Chappelle Show. And it's clearly Charlie. He's doing an impression of his brother in this.
Oh,
See?
absolutely.
Isn't that clearly supposed to be Charlie Murphy?
What's funny is that after Charlie Murphy got big, and then I'd watch interviews with him, I thought this dude's funnier than Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
Like at least at this point in time in his life.
Mm-hmm. This is they don't make movies like this anymore. Look at how they frame these things, how the script progresses. This is as simple of a plot as you can find, and they don't try and they take these big sweeping moments and they don't try to make you terrified. They're just trying to make 90 minutes of entertainment here. And I appreciate that so much in a movie.
They're doing a really good job too with like eye lines, sight lines for his characters looking at each other.
Incredibly.
Because you can notice that a lot of movies where if someone's playing their own twin or whatever, there's still, it feels like there's this disconnect there still, but you don't get that in this scene.
One thing that you can really notice in this too, so obviously it's genius because the dad and the grandma at each end of the table have their own shot, and then the mom with her grandson right there, that's another shot. That's easy. But Eddie, or I guess Sherman and Sherman's brother together, that is a difficult shot, and they have a couple where they cross
at an angle.
Yeah, they cross that line a couple of times. Where if you ever watched The Parent Trap, there was a clear dividing line where they couldn't go back and forth because you were splicing the two pieces together.
Yeah.
But in this, I think it's a moment where he puts chicken on his plate, and then you'll notice that he puts the chicken back into the bowl.
It's helpful that he looks different for every character, because I'm trying to think of that movie with Tom Hardy where he plays the twin brothers who are like English gangsters.
Yep.
And there's a big fight scene between the two of them at like a party. And you can really tell every time you see Hardy's face that the other person is not Tom Hardy, because they're trying to look exactly the same. So it's helpful that these characters look so different that if you see one, if they were to play one as an extra standing in for them, you wouldn't notice it.
They see right here, like, I think this is the chicken moment here.
Is that his son?
That's his son.
His brother's son?
Which is ironic because this came out the same summer as Hercules.
Starring
so look at this. Look at this. Look at it. Look how good that
really
looks.
Good.
I mean, it just amazes me when I watch something like this, especially because this is at a time before they have massive, massive budgets to be able to splice things together.
Yep. The most expensive thing they paid on this was to Eddie Murphy.
Yep. Yeah. At one point, I wonder if Eddie like negotiates like a contract and be like, okay, so you'll have classic Eddie Murphy, plus you want these 3 other Eddie Murphys.
When they did that SNL reunion, and there was word that they tried to get Eddie Murphy to play Bill Cosby for a second, oh, that would have been amazing.
Yeah.
Well, they had Kenan Thompson instead.
Yep.
And it was during Celebrity Jeopardy, and so it was like a guest, and they had recorded it before the allegations had come out. Was the joke.
This is 21 years old, too, and they make
Is it that old?
Yeah, 97 to the time we're recording this, yeah.
I was in 7th grade. Flubber must have come out the year before this.
Flubber?
Flubber, I think.
Yeah.
Because I went to that on a 6th grade field trip.
Flubber was a great movie. Again, another remake, too.
Yep. Yes! This is it. This is my favorite part.
Some people really think that fart jokes are immature, but this is a very well done fart scene.
They're fantastic.
Yeah. I learned a term because of this movie too. And I'll tell you which one it is. Oh, right here. So
I like how someone else made him do that.
Pants. He pooped his pants. See, this is good too, where they cross out and they have the scene together on the porch. Wow.
That's really good. Yeah, that door is obviously the thing they had to match up.
Yep. And I think he does a great job acting, because he's acting to nothing.
Here we've got an extra in the foreground playing him in both shots, but because the characters look so different from each other, it totally matches up. It doesn't take you out of the movie.
Mm-hmm. See, and I feel like
that doesn't even look like Eddie Murphy.
That
is such a good makeup job.
Well, so one thing that from an interview he talks about, like when he plays his mother, he really plays up his cheekbones, right?
Okay.
Because she's so smiley all the time and she's got that big grin. And so it's kind of squints her eyes a little bit. And so the father has the opposite. You'll notice he's always kind of grimacing and his mouth is always kind of pointed down. And so he does simple physical things with his body.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I think he should have gotten an Oscar nomination for this movie because it is phenomenal. It must have gotten at least an effect or a makeup.
I really want them to make like a retroactive Oscar, like one Oscar at the award ceremony. That is for like no movie you would have understood.
For something sort of like, we're sorry.
Why does he have her address now? I'm trying to recall how he got that.
Faculty directory. In fact, I think he mentions it here.
Oh.
I've seen this movie a lot.
Dude, the faculty directory. I had access to that as a kid because my dad was a teacher. And so I had every teacher's phone number and everything like that. And I felt like I had all this power. Even though it meant nothing. Like, what am I going to do? Call these teachers or tell students that I have the phone number for, this principal at this school.
Did you ever think that, like, oh man, this person lives on the south side of town, but they teach on the north side? They're conflicted.
It was mostly just, who do I know?
Yeah.
And now I have access to their phone number. That's awesome. I've got power.
Do you remember? So, like, right here, I remember what it was like to not have the confidence to ask someone out, and I think he just nails it here. The way he like is having trouble making eye contact, and the way he kind of, is, kind of can't find the words, but he's an incredibly intelligent man. I also love the accent he chooses for it. He gets so excited here. Get ready, because here comes the wait, hold on, I'm sorry. It's a little bit before this, but after this, but Dave Chappelle's coming up.
Oh, yes, he's the insult comic.
He's the insult comic.
That's who he is.
Montel Jordan is also in this.
Did I tell you I actually met Dave Chappelle?
Did you really?
For like a second. I really can't say I met him, but we bumped into each other at as I was walking into a bathroom at the Boston airport, and he was walking out. And I knew him from Robin Hood Men in Tights, from Half Baked, and from a stand-up. And so we bump into each other, and I look at him, and I go, "Oh, I'm sorry." And he goes, "Oh, it's cool." And then I was like, "Wait, was that Dave Chappelle?" And so I walked behind him and watched him walk into like a coffee shop with a big glass front, and then I just stayed outside and looked at him to make sure that it was Dave Chappelle, and that was absolutely Dave Chappelle, especially because everyone else in the coffee shop starts turning and like pointing to him.
Yeah.
So I've spoken with Dave Chappelle. I've actually touched Dave Chappelle.
Ooh. Aren't you fancy?
See, this is what I do when I get home. Just sing to myself into... Is this a CD player he's using?
Yeah, it is. It's a changer.
Oh, 'cause he's in such a good
Pettygrass.
mood that he's going to...
Yep. And this is a great example, too, of how Eddie loves singing. I mean, that was his dream, right? Like,
Yep.
What was the name of his song that he had?
I don't know.
Oh, it was a good, what was it called? Party all the time. I want to party all the time. And see, like, what a great shot choice this was to hollow out the back of...
This reminds me of the shot in Dennis the Menace when they had the big mouth for him to shotgun or to slingshot the pill into it.
Oh, here's another thing too. So, Miss Wilson is also Eddie Murphy.
Is she in the basement of his house?
And he lives like on a duplex.
Got it.
So like he's got the upper apartment.
This is blowing my mind that that's Murphy right there. I remember these commercials.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Megashi. These, I think, are the only sequences in the movie that they did not need. Also, did you see that classic remote control he had right there? Pretty much as a volume up, volume down channel and power.
Actually, I really like this sequence because, I mean, I'm definitely very overweight from what I should be.
Yeah.
And like going home and
did you have fantasies? I'm talking about this fantasy sequence right here.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you meant the
No, like sitting by yourself and eating in front of the TV. No, we all can relate to that.
Well, I'm saying like the fact that I'm constantly craving food that's bad for me, and at the same time I'm constantly being told by everything around me that I'm gross.
Oh,
you know?
Yeah.
And like that's a really big thing for someone who's overweight. And I always hate it when people look down on someone who's overweight as though oh, you're just, you're lazy or you're you don't try hard enough or whatever. It's like it's not as simple as that.
There are so many psychological pieces associated with weight gain and weight loss. I find it to be, we accept alcoholism and drug addiction, but sometimes I think we need to get better about accepting food addiction and the fact that, like, how do you reward yourself if you have a hard day? How do you pamper
I go
yourself?
get some greasy burgers.
Yep. And how about if you have a good day?
Get some greasy burgers.
Yep.
Because it's that dopamine hit.
Yep. I agree.
It's the same thing that happens in your brain when you're doing drugs or anything else that makes you feel good.
Mm-hmm. Like, look at this makeup effect there. I mean, that looks like a fat body to me. This trampoline joke I used when I was on the cover of Fargo Monthly once, and it was very popular. It was very, very popular amongst people.
No upper body strength.
This also has a joke they have the nice rule of 3. Do you know the rule of 3 in comedy?
Yeah.
Okay. So they have a rule of 3 with that acupuncture scene that has a really great payoff in it, in my opinion. But see, this is what I like right here, right? So
he's making progress.
Yes, things start getting better. I quote this movie all the time. So when I'm doing stuff like I'm grabbing something, I'm like, one hand on you. And look at him go here. Wellman College. What's the difference between college and university?
I have no idea.
Neither do I. Is one more prestigious than the other?
I don't know. No clue. I didn't go to either. So couldn't tell you. This reminds me, obviously, they're doing the Rocky scene.
Yeah.
I actually shot a scene for my previous job on those same steps this year.
In Philadelphia?
In Philly, yeah.
Really?
It was pretty cool. And what was also funny was as we were shooting it, there were just people everywhere reenacting the Rocky scene.
Really?
Everywhere.
Yeah. Do they still have that statue of Rocky there?
Yep, still there. They have a statue to a fictional sports legend from their town. People in Philadelphia are pretty messed up.
It's pretty important to them, though, right? I mean, they like that.
Yeah, but they need things to feel good about because they hate themselves so much.
I had heard at one point that Sylvester Stallone donated that statue himself, and I don't know if that's true or not. But
I hope
if
that's true. I hope that's true. That's the end goal of JJ Meets World, is to get a JJ statue in Fargo somewhere.
Is that it? Because that could be really easy to take care of.
Yeah, that is the end goal. So once that happens, we're shutting down operations.
Okay, good. Then we can finally start that Tucker Meets County podcast that we've been talking about. Only here's the thing, it's going to be Dickey County. Not as many people as you'd think there. This scene hurts me to watch. It is painful for me to watch because he is such a sweet character. You don't see a moment where he's sort of being lecherous here. You don't see, like, all he wants is a connection with someone who, is to him, she's a colleague as well. So it's not like he's just hitting on some woman because she's, just hot.
The stakes are high.
Yeah.
The STAKES, not the STAKS.
Yeah, right. And like, even here, like, they're having a conversation about what he's studying and what he's, trying to accomplish. And so I think that is something that he enjoys as well. But now Montel Jordan Montel Jordan, everyone.
Is the original goal of his experiment to do weight loss?
It is to find the genetic trait within mammals that cause obesity.
Got it.
And to reverse it. Gotcha. That's the original idea for it. So that's what he was doing with Shelley, the fat hamster.
Got it.
Here we go, Dave Chappelle. When I saw Dave Chappelle live, he was talking about how he doesn't like any of the movies he was in, and someone yells out, Men in Tights, and he goes, come on, I was just playing a stereotype that whole time. And then someone yelled Nutty Professor, and he yelled back, fuck you. Also, that women be shopping joke is still used today. I buy comics.
It's a very Chris Rock thing to say. There's a lot of Chris Rock he's doing here.
Yep.
He's definitely parodying a bunch of different comedians. Cat Williams.
Yep.
Absolutely Cat Williams.
I also think that there's a little bit of Don Rickles in this too, but it doesn't come off as sweet as Don Rickles was. Dave Chappelle.
I would really like to see one of his small intimate shows that he does where he just shows up somewhere and just talks about what's on his mind.
When I saw him in Minneapolis, it was after his like not comeback, but his I decided I'm going to continue working, and the show is 3.5 hours long, and they weren't jokes. He was just walking around talking, and there were people walking around with signs saying, "No, do not videotape this. You'll be booted out. Do not yell anything at Dave.
Yeah.
If you yell, you're going to get booted out."
Yeah.
And it was intense, leading up to it. And they had a DJ on stage. The DJ goes, "All right, everyone, we all want to have a good time tonight. But having a good time tonight means do not yell anything at Dave. Do not take any photos of Dave, or you will get kicked out."
Yeah.
I think one of the things that I like
That's actually a pretty
about-
good joke, putting a belt on with a boomerang.
Yeah,
That's a
right?
pretty good joke.
Is it? I actually think it kind of shows like how cheap like fat jokes can be, and how
Yeah.
I mean, there's really no substance to this thing,
No.
right? And listen to this music
Oof.
that they bring in
That's
too,
harsh.
and this pull in on him. This is where I will start to tear up sometimes because he sits there and he just takes it.
So Chappelle doesn't like a single movie he was in.
Apparently not.
I'm trying to think of what else he was in. Obviously, Half Baked.
Oh, poor Sherman. Tim Shady, I think it's Shadyac who directed this, did a phenomenal job playing with these moments, and he, it doesn't show him crying. It
Yep.
it just shows him,
Because it's not like these are new insults to him.
right?
It's just, all right, here we go again.
And you can see that with Sherman too, and he's embarrassed because Carla is embarrassed,
Yeah.
and he hates the fact that he's caused embarrassment to her. Now, this is the scene where if he had been nominated for an Oscar for this, they would have showed. And it's not just because he said he's sad, but there is sort of there's an emotion here that goes beyond sadness, that is shame, and shame is so powerful.
Yeah, very powerful.
As a culture, we've really, I think, started to accept the fact that shame is so powerful.
Yeah, very
and
much
right
so.
here, where he shakes her hand, like he realizes that he could never be the man that she wants or needs. And then this choice right here, and God,
It's getting you now.
it's getting me now. This choice that he makes right here. This is the thing, folks. I'm going to shut up. Wow. Right?
Yeah.
And then this is, I think, what the Nutty Professor does the best, is it goes from something like that into this sequence,
Yep.
which is lightening, the situation, even though it's very sad, but it becomes comedy again. And it reminds you, every second of this movie reminds you that it's a comedy with heart.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, a lot of people who have never struggled with weight don't understand the fact that when you are at home at night, that's pretty funny. That's actually reminding me of a Brad Delzer story I got to tell you. The M&Ms.
When he drank M&Ms?
Well, no, it was the first time I met Brad Delzer. He was eating peanut M&Ms out of a massive jar that he just brought with him to a play rehearsal. And he finished the jar. But I mean, basically, you're home at night with your pain and shame and anger, and you want relief from it. You don't want to have to feel that way right now, but you don't know what else will fix it, and it can get so bad that you go, fuck it, I'm just gonna go back to this drug that makes me feel good, at least for tonight.
Yep.
I'll pick up again tomorrow. And so that kind of personal pain that you have to go through,
Here's an example of that CG that they barely used because it was so expensive at the time. But I I always wonder when you're making a movie like this, what hits the chopping room floor as like, this is too ridiculous, you know, for this, like Sherman's, I just don't care for these fantasy
The dream
sequences.
sequences and stuff. See, I think that looks really great, though.
It's fried chicken. And like, that's what is missing in the second movie is sort of like the heart, and it's all about just the clump family characters.
Yeah. That's a pretty good gag, too.
Yeah.
I love
eating the chicken.
the little
And like,
chicken
look
wing.
how they match that up too, of like pulling it away. And then a good old fart joke coming up here.
Love them. Keep them coming.
Yep.
Blow me away.
All right, Eddie, listen. Okay, so you're going to have a giant fart here.
Yes. I love it.
boy.
Dad's happy.
Yep. Sherman comes out of it. And then I also think that this is the drastic measure that people have thought about, right? There's not a single person who's overweight who hasn't thought, God, I wish that there was some kind of a pill or there was some magic way. What I wouldn't give to be thin.
So now, in this scene here, is he merely synthesizing more of the drug, or is he actually, he has a new idea on how to make this happen?
Nope. So they've already proven that it can work with Shelley, but what they've proven is that a small amount can reduce a small amount of weight. But what he wants to do is take away a massive amount of
I
weight.
see.
And so he is now seeing that he has to take like
ton of
a huge
solution.
amount of this drug, and they don't know what that's going to do.
Got it.
And so that is part of the story. Oh boy. Be careful,
Does
Sherman.
he drink it? Does he inject it?
He drinks it. Who doesn't love a good little black light trick?
Mm-hmm.
Huh? Oh
Down
boy.
the hatch.
All right. What's going to happen to you, Sherman? You're going to love this wire effect with the computer here.
All the ones and zeros, the binary on the left side.
In the original Nutty Professor, I think was one of the top grossing comedies of all time. And there's
The original.
the original.
Okay.
And there's I remember there's a great scene when he becomes the Lothario version of himself,
Mm-hmm.
where he kisses his hand and he goes, "Want some, baby?"
This is kind of reminding me, too, of Family Matters with Steve Urkel.
Yeah,
And he would take the potion and become Urkel.
yeah. Well, was this? I thought it was Stefan Urkel.
Stefan Urkel.
Yeah, because he goes from Steve Urkel to Stefan Urkel. Also, do you remember when he had the robot version of himself?
Oh, yeah.
Urkelbot.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't Urkelbot become villainous at one point?
I don't know, but it's tough to go back and watch those episodes and find them funny anymore.
Really?
They were very funny at a certain time, at least when I was a kid. But I go back and watch them now, and I'm just like, meh. There's one good scene I remember where Urkel is in a gym locker room, and like the boys in the locker room want to bully him. And this is when they were casting like 35-year-old adults as teenage boys.
Sure.
And so they're all planning on like whipping him with towels. But it turns out he's ready for them because it's happened to him so many times. And so he basically engages in a karate fight and completely outmatches all of the guys in the room. Can you see his dick yet?
You're going to see it right here. Like, nothing but air there. So, what is interesting to me here, he clearly becomes a new person immediately. So, he loses the sweetness of Sherman, but it's like he's living out every one of Sherman's fantasies.
Yeah. Spandex.
And I mean, we're 37 minutes into this movie.
Okay. Yeah.
Before you ever actually see Eddie Murphy.
Yeah, that's right.
when he was one of the most bankable stars in the world in comedy.
Yep.
And so, I mean, that's bold, too. And the poster for this, it's not like it shows Eddie Murphy. It is a large shot from down.
So this
shoulder.
is interesting. He still has the same hunger. He's got a table full of food right there.
I think he allows himself to just eat, like, because he loves eating.
Yep. So it's not like it.
This is a classic Eddie Murphy smile scene right here. He breaks the fourth wall.
I have never worn spandex, and I doubt I ever will.
No, I've worn baby clothes. It's pretty much like spandex. So can you think of an Eddie Murphy movie that like you really like maybe one of your favorite Eddie Murphy movies?
What's the one with him and Tom Hanks? The stock market one.
You mean Dan Aykroyd?
Dan Aykroyd,
Trading
not
Places.
Tom Hanks. Trading Places. I remember liking Trading Places. I saw it as a kid.
That one's very funny.
That one's very funny. I'm having trouble.
I am a big fan of Coming to America.
Okay. What about Daddy Daycare?
I did like Daddy Daycare.
I kind of liked it too.
I did not care for the sequel, Daddy Day Camp. I think one of the things I liked about Daddy Daycare was it wasn't just about dads being stupid, right? It had dads like not really realizing what they're getting into, but having the determination to put together this day camp for their kids. He also has a really sweet moment there with the children who play his children in it. Like it's his little boy, and he's like, I just want to spend time with my daddy. And he does that emotional connection so well.
Yeah.
I don't know why he makes some of the movies he does. Like 1,000 Words is a movie where he is a guy who's kind of a fast talker and he lies to everybody. And at one point he lies to like a guru, and the guru says, I've grown this tree. It's got 1,000 leaves. Every time you say a word, a leaf is going to fall off of it. And when the last leaf falls, you're going to die. And so it's all about him kind of mugging for the camera after that and trying to order his regular coffee order without, saying any words. And I'm like, this is a guy who's so good at fast talking. Why would you take that away from him?
Yeah. Why not just say, hey, it's actually me, and look, I did this thing and lost all the weight? Why does he have to pretend that he's a different person?
Because he should not be testing that on himself. I think that it is absolutely, and I think he also thinks that she associates Sherman with being embarrassed.
Got it.
And so he
That makes
wants
sense.
to have this opportunity. Also, it's a movie, and it wouldn't work as well if he was like, now I'm Thin Sherman.
That's true. That's right, because the fat keeps coming back. He has to
keep taking the
He has to
drug.
dose regularly. Oh, and so his voice even is like coming back.
Starts to come back.
And is that because
Miss
there's
Purdy.
fat on his vocal cords, and that's why he's supposed to sound like that?
To me, I think it's supposed to represent the fact that he becomes a completely different person,
Got it.
right? And so
So now he gets his revenge on everyone who's made fun of him, right? And it's essentially
he does at one point. So Dave Chappelle becomes the it takes him out. Also, what I think that happens here too is whenever he becomes Buddy Love, he loses
the Dean.
some of the stuff he's supposed to be doing in his real life,
Gotcha.
like this.
That's right. He's losing his intellect, right?
Nope, that's in the
That's
second
the
one.
sequel?
So he removes in the plot of the sequel is that Buddy Love is still inside of him.
Okay.
And every now and then Buddy kind of takes control of him, and he'll say something that's unkind, or he'll stop jiving and tell everyone you got fired to his dad. And so he wants Buddy Love out of him, so he isolates the Buddy Love gene.
Oh, that's
and he
right.
removes it, but when he removes it, it starts making him lose his intelligence.
That's right. Did they explain how him and Miss Purdy's relationship ends?
No. There's one reference to it in Nutty Professor 2, the clumps, where he goes, well, Sherman and I were both going after the same girl, because Buddy Love becomes a physical person after some kind of a drug.
Okay.
Like a dog hair and the DNA.
Oh, yeah.
And it becomes a weird thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he confronts Sherman. Buddy Love confronts Sherman while he's on a date with Janet Jackson. He says, yeah, Sherman and I were both going after the same girl, Miss Purdy. And it's bizarre. Oh,
Sort
and
of a passing reference.
in the second movie, he has invented an anti-aging formula.
That's right.
And that's what's so important is this anti-aging formula. And Buddy wants to steal it.
If there was a third movie,
It'd be a Christmas movie. I've already written it. Okay. Christmas with the Clumps. Christmas with the Clumps. And the third one would be about how Sherman can't relate to his son.
okay,
Because his son doesn't
he and
care.
Janet Jackson have had a baby,
I don't know if I'd cast Janet Jackson in it.
but maybe she's not in the movie, but it's her baby. Because
Oh,
then, like,
sure.
mom is gone now. Penis car?
Penis car. Mm-hmm. This is also obviously shot like in California, probably in the Los Angeles area. I've never seen places like this in my life. They go to the same exact place. She must really love the Scream. It looks like an expensive place.
Yeah.
Come on, Miss Purdy.
Yeah.
You know, are you going Dutch on this date? That's what I'd like to know.
Oh, Eddie Murphy.
I know, right? You know, he just had his like 10th kid.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, he's got a bunch of kids with different women.
Wow.
Can you imagine what it must be? Eddie Murphy's got such a unique story because he was so young when he got on Saturday Night Live and immediately became a megastar. There's a great story in the Live from New York book where they talk about how Eddie, like, studios would come and drop off like checks for like $10,000 to him because they wanted him to be in a movie that they were doing. And he would go downstairs, cash the check, and just start buying jewelry at the NBC like jewelry store that was down there.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, Eddie, you cannot just keep buying $10,000 worth of jewelry like in moments time. You need to save some of this money. You need to make career choices.
Yeah.
But every movie he was in back to back to back was sort of gold. It was sort of the same way like Bill Murray was, where he couldn't do any wrong.
Yep. What's that called? There's actually a name for that. This fallacy where essentially, because you've been winning so much, you will believe that you're just going to keep winning forever until you don't.
They call it Gutenberg syndrome.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what it is, but I'm just pumped for the return of Dave Chappelle
in this movie.
I like that his thing is he's got a big top hat.
Yeah, a big top hat, and then he shows a lot of his underpants.
Women be shopping.
I wonder if they became friends. Because really,
I would assume so.
Dave was like a younger version of Eddie trying to do the same thing, right?
I guess, yeah.
Because he came up in the stand-up world.
Sure.
And he was trying to like make his mark, you know, in comedy movies. And so he's doing the same thing just 20 years later.
Uh-huh.
Just like how Eddie was doing what Richard Pryor was doing.
I would assume that by knowing Charlie Murphy so well, that he would be friends with Eddie as well.
I assume he met Charlie Murphy through Eddie.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Like Charlie Murphy's hanging out on the set of The Nutty Professor. And so the two of them get a friendship going. I also feel like this is where we find out how Jada Pinkett Smith isn't a very good actress, because right here, they're just sort of like, Eddie's just going to go, right? So you just have to follow. And all she can do is just watch him and like not give him anything else. There's no reaction. There's no looking back at the like to see like, oh, what's going on? I mean, she just does nothing. Luckily, he's so energetic. You just want to watch it.
It turns the script around on the comic. Now, did these audience members did they not realize they're going to see an insult comic?
I don't think so.
Reggie.
I wish, if this were today, to publicize this movie, they would have sent Chappelle out as Reggie to like do his act around and like get people excited about it. They also probably would have spun off a Reggie movie.
Reggie.
Did you ever see the movie Funny People?
No.
So Aziz Ansari plays a character in that who's got like Randy, like that's how it goes. He's a guy who's just not funny.
Yeah.
I mean, he's funny, but not in the not the way that you want a comedian to be funny. And they spun it off so like he was getting specials and stuff like that, and he started doing part of his stand-up specials as Randy, like as his character.
Aziz was someone who I didn't think I was going to like until I watched Parks and Rec and then fell in love with him. And I was like, oh, I get it now. I get what his shtick is.
Yeah.
I get the kind of humor that he's doing. And I really, really like it.
He does a great job with his storytelling aspect because, and so does Dave Chappelle too. Like when Dave Chappelle talks about his white friend Chip, those are my favorite Dave Chappelle stories. And I will constantly quote when like, no, Chip, no.
Oh, fat jokes.
Now, I don't know what a timer's guide, Thomas guide.
Jesus.
Oh, Eddie. Earl shines like a Sherwin-Williams.
Got it.
So it's like house paint.
I wonder if this has ever happened before where a stand-up comic was doing their bit and then someone started heckling them and then ended up actually going on stage and just taking over entirely.
Oh, I bet you.
That's got to be a crazy situation for that to happen.
I also think this is a good example of if you can't take it, you shouldn't dish it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I also really love the suit he's wearing right here. I'd really like to wear it. Oh, Reggie. Oh, Reggie. Also,
It's a very 90s pattern on his underwear, by the way.
This is something I'll throw out there. Judging from the size of the room here and the height of the ceiling and the number of people in there, just them up there using their regular inside voices without a microphone, it'd be very tough to fill that space. And so for people to be able to, enjoy the subtlety of some of these things, I think you would be that's how you're really suspending reality. It's not that there's a magic drug. Another moment where Eddie Murphy sings in this movie.
Yeah. He's winning over Jada Pinkett. Well, he just sent this guy to the hospital.
Yep.
See, the thing is, he's taking it out on this guy who's just doing his job, though, right?
Yep. Exactly.
Right?
And look at this. Like,
that could have killed a man.
well, and the damage to a grand piano.
That's a lot.
And it's not. Why does the audience love what he's doing here? They just watched an assault.
Because he's the hero.
They just watched an assault.
Yeah, and it's not like any of these people realize that this guy got hurt by him before.
Also, like, how come no one from the club came up and they're like, we don't have anything to fill. Montel Jordan sang his one song.
Reggie was supposed to fill 30 minutes.
Reggie is the owner's nephew. You can never come back to the Scream.
He's like the Pauly Shore. I have a friend who I won't name her, but she got hit on by Pauly Shore at his house. He met her somehow and ended up inviting her back to his place. And
did he ask to squeeze her juice?
No, but he did say, "Can the Weezer get a squeezer?"
Oh, what?
She refused and left. And I just say that because that line, "Can the Weezer get a squeezer?" is pretty good.
Yikes. And like, what year was this? Do you know? Just roughly.
Say that one more time.
What year?
Like within the past 2-3 years.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I always wonder what it was like in his heyday.
He did a really interesting episode of the Rogan podcast where he talked about basically what happened to his career, like why it went away. And he was basically like, listen, the story is always like, someone gets big and becomes a celeb and, they get into drugs and they get into all this other stuff and their career derails. And he said, even though some of that was in there, really what was happening was it was flop after flop. I was making bad movie choices. I wasn't listening to the right people.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some CG for you.
Yep.
Lower lip CG. Does he find out who this guy is at this moment?
Yep.
Okay, so someone finds out his secret, basically.
Yep. So Jason finds out here, and he actually has a pretty sweet way of describing why he does what he does here.
Gotcha. I'm sorry. So Shore was basically just saying, "Yep, I just didn't listen to the right people. I was the guy for like 2 years, and then just movie after movie just wasn't working, and essentially just ate up all of his stuff." Some Freddy Krueger.
Yep. Which I don't believe.
Is there ever a Freddy Krueger where he gets fat?
No. Well, yeah, there actually is.
Okay.
I think it's Dream Warriors, where one of the girls is worried about getting obese.
It's a movie called Dream Warriors?
Yeah. It's Nightmare on Elm Street, Dream Warriors,
okay.
and she's worried about getting obese, and in her dream, she's like force-fed.
Gotcha.
It's pretty disgusting.
Gotcha.
But I think it's he's transforming. But okay, so that's Universal. But Nightmare on Elm Street, I believe, was New Line.
Okay.
So I mean, you're promoting another product that would never happen today.
Yeah, it would
They'd
not
be like,
happen
no,
today.
you got to say this is like some Saw shit, man. And you got whatever our horror franchises that we're pushing.
Uh-oh.
Do you ever have a class where the teacher didn't show up, and at one point you guys thought about like leaving?
There was always like one kid that would pipe up and go, "Listen, it's actually the law that if they don't show up within the first 10 minutes that you can leave." I don't think that's ever true, but a few times it's happened where teacher didn't show up. And there was always one kid in the classroom that like goes, "Hey, I just because everyone here knows we can leave now."
Yeah, it's the law.
It's the law.
I know that there was only one time where we left, and as we left, one of the principals just happened to be walking down, and they're like, "Oh, nope, everyone's staying in class. Your teacher got into a car accident, and they couldn't make it." I remember thinking, like, if we had left 2 minutes earlier,
Yeah.
we would have been good to go.
Yeah, but then you would have been hunted down and gotten in trouble probably
Why?
because you left.
I believe that my parents would have been angry that I was not being monitored at the time.
Is it the law?
It's the law.
It's the law.
It is the absolute law. So, again, Larry Miller on here. Larry Miller, you might remember from 10 Things I Hate About You, which was an adaptation of Taming of the Shrew.
Oh, yep.
And then he was also in the series version of it, too.
Has he ever had a role that was like a serious dramatic role?
Larry Miller? He probably has. I'm sure he's done an episode of, like, Law and Order, SVU. So let's see. Larry Miller, as an actor, let's see what he's in. So the Nutty Professor is one of the things that comes up right at the top of his list. Okay. Larry Miller was in a movie called Hot Bot, where it looks like
his boss is
weird
threatening him
science.
with death.
Yeah, he's going to kill him.
That's
He's
crazy.
going to choke light out of his fat head.
Goodness. That is a physical threat.
Okay.
You've got a lawsuit on your hands there, Mr. Klump.
Larry Miller in 2012 was in a movie called Food Fight that, honest to God here, was a movie where Aunt Jemima, the stork that delivers pickles for, I don't know, like Clausen maybe, Charlie the tuna, and the Twinkie man, like the mascot for the Twinkies, all get together to fight. Like they
With
become
Hillary
a super
Duff
team.
and Ava Longoria.
Yeah. Charlie Sheen, too.
Never heard of that movie.
So, I mean, could that be the most, like, ridiculous, like, we need some money. We need you to make a movie where you make Aunt Jemima into a hero. Oh, gosh. Okay, I'm going to go deep into Larry Miller's career here. I'm going to go, this guy's done a lot. Oh, Best in Show. He has a great role where he was Catherine O'Hara's former lover.
Shout out to Catherine O'Hara, one of the best actors in the world.
Yeah, just top
Does
notch.
the best drunk I've ever seen.
Without a doubt.
Best drunk person I've ever seen.
Oh, here's another sensitive moment. Here's why he loves it.
Never, huh? Okay, thanks for clarifying that.
this score. So it took me a long time to track down a copy of this score, and I think it's somebody who actually like ripped it from the DVD.
Okay.
And so,
How do you rip the score from the DVD?
I think it was like an independent audio track.
Okay.
So like, because you've got the language tracks, right?
Yep.
And so the language track is a separate track.
Really?
On some of these things, yeah, when it's separated out.
When did they stop doing that? Because that's not
That's not the way they do it
that
anymore.
doesn't make any sense to me. But
I think part of it is this is from a time when they used to do things for VHS, right? Because this came out on VHS
Yep.
before it was out on DVD.
Sure. Yeah.
And so you'd have to
That
be
makes
able
sense.
to like mix it with this other audio track
Yeah.
versus
Yeah.
being able to just drop it in as easily.
He's got sort of a Spider-Man or Batman thing going on where he's got the secret identity, and the woman that he loves is interested in his secret identity and doesn't realize they're the same person.
Mm-hmm.
So this is basically a superhero movie.
That's a good
This
point.
is like before the Hulk.
We should just call this movie
In
The
fact,
Bulk.
I
We should
really-
have called it The Bulk.
I think that this movie is officially part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I bet this is the same university
This is okay. So
that
technically,
Dr. Selvig works at.
this is Universal. So it would be related to the Hulk franchise, like
Yep.
the Ang Lee.
Yep. Well, okay,
Hulk.
but the movie Incredible Hulk, which is part of the MCU, is still distributed by Universal. They have a similar deal with them they have with Sony.
Yeah.
So like it can be another studio's or another distributor's thing. I am saying
But
for my headcanon.
But okay. At this point, Ang Lee is probably working on his version of the Hulk at least a little bit.
Okay.
But the Incredible Hulk didn't exist yet, and they definitely do not include the Hulk as part of the MCU. Like that one's fully erased, right? I mean, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I thought so.
Oh God, please tell me more farts are coming.
Oh yeah.
Because he said the Windy City. There's no way Dad talks about the Windy City and then doesn't make some Windy City of his own.
Mm-hmm. You would think so. Burping right off the bat.
What family does actually ask that?
Sure. Beautiful. I'm pretty sure this is completely improvised, by the way.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So which character would he start with then?
I think like here, like they know it goes to the grandma for a little bit, right? Because when you see it, when it comes back to like the dad,
Yep.
there's nothing that's specific about like.
So I'm trying to think. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4 characters at this table that are not Clump, right? That he's playing, or Eddie Murphy's playing 5 characters at this table.
Yeah, there's his mom, his dad, Sherman, his brother, and the grandma.
So I'm thinking then that would mean that this was probably shot over 5 days, because if he's getting in and out of costume for all these different characters, I know they've got fat suits on, but the fat suits are different.
Yep.
And if that takes a large part of the day, and then if he's just improvising stuff and then they're trying to mash it up afterwards, they probably had a script that was there for the basis. Like, we have to get from this point to this point to this point. But then in between, he's just going to do what he wants to do.
Yeah, I'm kind of guessing that they said, like, they treat it like Larry David treated his show, right? Like, you need to start here and end up here, but whatever happens in between, you can kind of make it out on your own. And I'm sure that I woo might make a head blow off.
Pop goes the weasel. I kind of feel bad for the little kid in this scene because they've got him eating, which means that he must have been eating throughout the whole day.
And over and over.
Like, that kid's
I
gonna
think-
get sick.
I bet you it took a full week at least to film this
At
scene.
least this one scene.
Yeah.
He's.
And
I love listening.
you know, when you think of putting on a fat suit like the one he's wearing, like, first of all,
Okay, someone just said cunnilingus in a family comedy. I love that so much.
this is another example too of where Jada Pinkett Smith just does nothing. Like,
Well, I think when you're in a scene with Eddie Murphy doing this, your job is to react, to go, what the hell am I seeing?
Sure, but she's not even doing a good job with that.
Yes!
Right?
Now, there's a similar scene in The Clumps, right, where Janet Jackson meets the family for the first time.
Well, no, Janet Jackson, she's already been dating Sherman. In fact, they're talking about getting married.
Oh, okay, so it starts, he's in a relationship.
Yep, I believe the movie in The Nutty Professor 2 starts with them going to an all-you-can-eat buffet.
That's right. That's right.
And at that buffet, they change this to where she kind of fights back with the Clumps a little bit. Like one of them is taking something off her plate. In fact, it's Eddie's brother is taking something off her plate, and she kind of stabs her fork in, and she goes, "That ain't yours."
Is she meeting them for the first time though?
No,
or she's already known them.
She's
for a
known
while?
them. Yeah, they've been dating. Now, behind them, you see an ad for the movie "Let's Give Them Something to Talk About," which was a Julia Roberts film, if I'm not mistaken.
You know, it's interesting, there are actually online communities who create databases of things like times that actual movies are shown in other movies or referenced. So like that would be one where like in the background of this scene on the marquee, this particular movie was listed. The same thing with when we had Bill Brooks on talk about Fargo Pinball.
Yep.
And there's a whole document, like a shared document online, a collaborative document where people are going, hey, these are all the movies where you can see an arcade game in a scene for some reason.
Ooh,
And I think that's really
like
interesting.
that.
I think that's really interesting. If you could start a list like that of your own, what would you be interested in?
I would want to know scenes that take place inside of Pizza Huts, which would be one, because I think anytime they show a movie where there's a scene inside of a Pizza Hut, it looks fun, way more than a Pizza Hut is in real life. I'm also super nostalgic for the way Pizza Huts used to be with the video games and like the pizza buffet. Tom Shadyac, by the way, listen to this guy's career, okay? So he directs Ace Ventura: Pet Detective in 1994.
Okay.
Also, prior to that, he had directed the TV movie Frankenstein: The College Years.
Okay.
Where it shows a picture of Frankenstein's monster, not Dr. Frankenstein. Then he does The Nutty Professor. Then he does Liar Liar. Then he does Patch Adams. And then he does some movie called Dragonfly. Teams up again with Jim Carrey for Bruce Almighty. Then he does Evan Almighty. And then he does the movie in 2010 called I Am.
Goodness.
I've never heard of that.
This character kind of looks like Howard Stern.
With his hair all crazy?
With his hair, just his whole face. I mean, he kind of looks like Howard Stern to me.
I wonder if that guy ever did anything after this. Because he's got a pretty major role in this.
Yeah. Is he just messing with him right now?
Yeah.
The coagulant serum.
Which you would not want to take because if
No,
your
that's-
blood
that's
coagulates, that can kill you. I mean, kill you right good. Also, one of the people who gets title billing in this is a guy named James Coburn, who we might know as one of the most notable Western stars. He's done a bunch of great roles.
He was one of Bruce Lee's students.
Was he really?
Yep, big, basically one of Bruce Lee's closest and best students. He's often interviewed in documentaries about Bruce Lee.
James Coburn,
Yep,
huh? That's
yep.
amazing.
Because Bruce Lee became famous even before even before he started making movies in China as an adult. But he was teaching Jeet Kune Do to celebrities in the U.S. And so a lot of celebrities, including James Coburn, would take his class. And supposedly he loved James Coburn because even though Coburn wasn't super athletic, he was very intelligent, and he loved having long conversations with him about philosophy, all sorts of other stuff. And so, yeah, if you can imagine James Coburn, who's, his hands have been riddled with arthritis for most of the time that we've ever seen him. He was doing like karate kicks and chops and stuff with Bruce Lee. Yeah, back in the day.
That's very interesting. Well, the reason I bring it up is he's one of the people who gets title billing in this. And how many scenes have you seen with James Coburn yet?
Has he been in it yet?
No, he doesn't show up until the very last third of the movie. And even at that point, he probably only has maybe a total of 10 minutes of screen time in this whole movie. They reference his character, Harlan Hartley, who's the guy who's going to be giving a ton of money.
Oh, so there's a... Oh, there he is.
There's James Coburn.
Harlan Hartley.
Sherman's research? He was a stand-up comedian. That's how I think he got this role. Is he and Eddie Murphy were friends in the 80s during stand-up.
Would love to see his stand-up comedy.
Yeah, very funny guy.
Yeah. So I'm wondering, see, here's what I would like to see is a movie with like him and Stephen Tobolowsky. Where it's
all these character actors.
Get all these different character actors that you see in a bunch of stuff, and they are like the head of the movie.
I wonder, have they done a documentary yet on famous character actors? The people who like
even if
stood
they
in the
have, I don't think
background?
there's anything stopping us from doing that. Now, Coburn passed away, right?
Yep.
What year did he pass away?
Shortly after Monsters Incorporated came out, because he was the voice of the owner of Monsters Inc. So it's been a decade now, over a decade. That was 2002, maybe 2001.
Yep. Oh, the chef special is gone.
Also, I want to know where that piece of chalk came from, because it doesn't look like there's a shelf right there.
So now what we're seeing there is we're seeing an
equation.
algorithm, an equation.
Yeah.
And see, that's something I wouldn't mind seeing would be a supercut of every time someone is
Ooh.
making, equations on a wall, especially because oftentimes they'll like turn to an actual math professor or someone to come up with something that looks real, that is for something, but none of us would.
I would think that'd be like a lot of fun to be on the movie set and just like you take something like Good Will Hunting. I wonder if the equations they worked on in Good Will Hunting were real, because if I were a director, that would be something that'd be important to me, right? Is that they're getting the math right in something where you're focusing on math.
Yeah. Something
like this where you're coming up with a mystical serum.
Yeah.
I wouldn't care so much.
Yeah.
About that. One of the things that I like the most about this too is they obviously have costumed Buddy Love to be obnoxious in his costume choice.
Well, and he's someone who has never felt this kind of confidence before, right? So he's so overcome with confidence, he doesn't know how to actually handle it.
Well, and they talked to previously Jason, the lab assistant, who has done a lot of work, but a lot of like single episode arcs and shows. He talks about how his testosterone levels are off the charts.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's confidence as well as like being that person, like that mega testosterone freak.
Yeah. He's never felt it before. So just a minute ago when Eddie Murphy's character is walking around talking to the restaurant, he grabbed this woman's arm, held it up and shook it, and then went to a guy and like poked at his, what he called his turkey neck.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder what it feels like to be an actor who's like, listen, we need someone with flabby arms who's willing to have them be shook in front of a camera. I mean, those actors, even if they're like, yeah, I'm totally willing to do that, they're still people who at some point in their life has probably felt really self-conscious about that or is struggling with it. And I've always wondered how you handle that. It's like as a filmmaker, it's like, we need these characters who can
even as a casting agent, how do you write that, right?
Exactly.
So when you're putting together that ask for sheet, you're like, must have flabby arms. But that's kind of what like Hollywood's all about, right?
Yeah.
Although maybe it's empowering to look at and be like, ha ha, you skinny bitches. Guess who's gonna be perfect for this role?
Does he really get a four-way out of this?
He does.
He does?
Yeah. I mean, spoiler alert, if you didn't know. Oh, look at this. Huge
he had a college party now?
Well, this is his house.
Oh. Yeah. Yeah. Doesn't know how to handle it.
Burning calories.
Lance Perkins.
Actually, you know what I'd really love is I'd love a supercut of fake products created just for a movie. So like for something like this, you can look at, the boxes of Lance Perkins.
You know what's hilarious about that too, though, is that I bet there's going to be a designer's job who's like, hey, you need to make this box and all this other stuff. That would be the perfect job for an artist who's been in advertising for a long time, who's like, I got to get the fuck out of here. Because that means they go, oh, I get to now design a product that I can actually have fun with because we're not
That's
actually trying to
supposed
sell
be
it.
creative.
We're not actually trying to sell it.
Yep. And you can. Oh, Sherman.
Oh, is he clumpy now?
Yep.
Yeah.
Full clumped. He's verklumped.
See, I don't know if they got busy. They may have just passed
They
out.
definitely did. What an expressive, amazing face. You know, there was a time in Hollywood where they just wanted people who could be super expressive. Take Jim Carrey. You know, Eddie Murphy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of other people who are like comedians who had just this like super expressive face. The cast of Friends, right?
Is there a dream role for you that you think Eddie Murphy should play? He hasn't played before. Would probably never play because it's Eddie Murphy, but
that's a good question. I would love to see Eddie Murphy. You know, I think Eddie Murphy could probably do a really great job with a role about somebody who is almost like himself, right? So Eddie Murphy's playing a fictionalized version of Eddie Murphy, this guy who's been famous for a long time, and there's a lot of pressure to remain famous.
Yep.
And so he has to take roles that are less than, you know, he's got to take a family comedy, and then he's got to do this, but he's not being able to do what he really wants to do. I think he could do a really great job with something like that.
yeah. I think so obviously he I'm getting distracted by the comings and goings of all the characters in this movie.
Howie Stern.
Yeah. And there was like an eviction notice that's now there. You know, obviously the biggest movies in Hollywood right now are superhero movies. We get them all the time. And Marvel Comics is obviously killing it in that department. And I think they can come up with some really amazing villains. I would love to see Eddie Murphy chew the scenery as like a superhero movie villain, you know? And because then if you have an approach like the MCU has, which is a character first approach, you can still create a really meaty and interesting role for him. Like Thanos is one of the best characters an actor could hope for from the past year. And so I think,
by the way, Josh Brolin
kills it. My favorite villain of all time in movies.
The scenes here with Lance Perkins too must have been a second unit type thing, and I have to imagine that was a lot of fun to direct those things.
You mean when he's sitting there watching those scenes,
like,
or
the tape that he's watching?
Yeah.
So like when he's watching the workout pieces.
I think this is a pretty cool technique that they're using, though, in that he has to confront his personality.
Yeah. So you tell me they didn't get busy?
You're right. He did. You're right. He did.
Mm-hmm. She wants me.
College. He's calling Ms. Purdy college. Is that what he's saying?
Carla. Yeah, he's saying Carla doesn't want you.
I thought he
she
said
wants
college.
me.
I thought he said college doesn't want you. That's where Barack Obama got that
yes, I
phrase
can.
from. He was watching the clubs.
Oh my God! If Barack Obama turns out to be like a huge nutty, like you know how who was it? Who was the big fan of
Batman?
No,
because there is one
Princess Bride, and he used to use quotes in his speeches. From Texas.
Cruz? Ted Cruz?
Ted Cruz is a huge fan of Princess Bride.
I didn't know that. I knew he was a Simpsons guy, but man, talk about someone with a punchable face. This fucking Ted Cruz. So yeah, definitely this is more of a Jekyll and Hyde movie than a superhero movie, but I like this variation of the Jekyll and Hyde theme.
Oh, it's exactly, and that's what this is. So I mean, it's based off of the Nutty Professor, but it is Jekyll and Hyde.
It is Jekyll and Hyde.
That's what it boils down to. It.
There have been a lot of variations in that theme. I know there's a Dr. Jekyll, Mrs. Hyde, I think, where it's a man turns into a woman when he takes the vial.
Yep. You want to hear an
obviously
interesting
Gollum
story?
has a bit of that.
So Dr. Jekyll and Ms. Hyde features Stephen Tobolowsky, and when I was having guacamole and chips with him when he was in Fargo, I brought that role up, and he kind of groaned about it. And I said, it's weird because you obviously don't like that movie.
Yep.
But I remember watching that movie on HBO as a kid and really getting a kick out of it.
We gotta, you and Brent gotta get him back into town again, just so that we can put him on this podcast.
I think so too, right? He's amazing.
Oh, he's so good. See, yeah. So they pepper the clumps in here well enough. You don't want to have more clumps than you're getting here because it's long in the tooth after a while.
Oh, they originally were gonna, when like this was in the script phase, they were gonna cut the family sequence out of it completely.
No, that bad idea. Good thing they kept it.
I think playing a woman as a man, as a comedian, is one of the hardest things because it's so easy to playing a woman.
Okay.
It's so easy to go over the top, right?
Yep.
It's so easy.
Yeah.
But he does a wonderful job here with keeping her feminine, but like not like just woo.
The gag is not that a guy is playing a woman. That's not the gag here. And that's that gag doesn't work. Really, I think just the fact that someone is in drag or suddenly they're dressed as a woman now, that's just not really funny in the way that people might have used. Like when Jack Lemmon, Some Like It Hot, right?
Yep.
Right? It's like that was a different thing, right? Like at that time, a man wouldn't be caught dead dressing as a woman, and so the subversion of that type was like funny to them.
Yep.
But now it's like, no, I don't want to watch a guy dressed up as a woman making fun of the fact that he's dressed up as a woman. I want to see him playing a funny character who just happens to be a woman, and vice versa.
Yep.
I'd love to see more women playing male characters, just because why not? Like there are so many movies out there that to get any like uptight about if the actor matches like your predisposed choice of what they're supposed to be. It's a fantasy. We should not worry about that kind of stuff. Uh-oh, what happened? Oh, he got tricked.
Buddy had tainted some sheiks.
He tricked him. You tricked him, hamster boy. See, what would happen if... Oh. He's telling me right now. Okay, I was like, what happens if he just keeps drinking them as Buddy Love?
Yep. Oh, no. And they're adding midnight into here, so it's got a Cinderella aspect to it as well. You've got a date with linoleum. If I was ever going to punch someone, that would be my line.
There's another movie trope. People getting head injuries and just bouncing back from them like, oh, it's fine. Like, basically, if there's like someone who's in your way and you need to knock them unconscious, hit them on the head. They're going to be unconscious. You can do your thing, and then they'll be fine later.
Yep.
They'll just recover from it.
Oh,
My
brain swell.
Oh, there's hemorrhage in my head.
Oh.
See, Buddy Love is not a good party guest.
No. Buddy Love
that's a
is
good
not
joke.
fun, period, in my opinion.
Buddy Love is the villain of the movie.
Buddy Love.
The same character is the hero and villain of the movie.
Which is so interesting, isn't it? And, like, that's the thing about, like, Jekyll and Hyde, too, right? Going back to that, is he's both the villain and the hero at the same time. And that's tough because you're obviously rooting for Sherman, right? You want Sherman to come out of this strong. But at the same time, you also want Sherman to be happy. And
so when he says showtime, is he planning on demonstrating exactly what's going on?
Yeah.
Okay.
So...
Oh, the testosterone is up.
60,000% of testosterone? The only other person who can manage that is Hulk Hogan. And
most
he
of
doesn't
his
have a
was
shirt to rip.
Yeah, and it was always injected.
Oh, take a break.
Whoa! Family film.
And I love how his testosterone plays off as just being like crazy. Uh-oh.
I don't know.
And my heaviest, I was never even close to 400 pounds.
Oof. I'd have to almost double to get there.
Oh, boy. You know, here's another thing too, like a little watch with a digital alarm like that. You
Yep.
wouldn't see that
Nope.
nowadays.
I like his fists go up, like he's gonna get into a fight.
I remember going to this movie in the theaters. Specifically, I remember seeing it at Safari.
Okay.
And I loved this movie. I must have seen this movie 4 times the summer it came out.
Wow.
Which is a lot for me at that age.
Yeah,
'cause
you
I
saw
had to
this.
get a ride.
You saw this in the theater more than I saw Infinity War. There's got to be a supercut of scenes like that. For someone, wait! A lot of wedding scenes.
Yep.
I love the idea that his parents go straight for their weapons.
And they also are so kind of nonchalant about it too, right?
Yeah.
They're very calm. Uh-oh, time to take your medicine. Oh,
Boom.
another hamster reference. Isn't it nice too that like they give that Jason character a chance for him to have a little redemption in it and like to kind of be a badass for a second?
That's one thing too with movies is that during the first hour, they're going to set up all these things that they're going to return to eventually. So there are going to be lines that are said that we just heard him. He threatened the dean that he was going to strangle him the same way that the dean strangled other people. The I hate being called hamster boy. There's always some sort of callback from the very beginning. And it happens so much that you expect it, but it seems to happen for a reason because they're trying to tie up the story. So they start with the premises and then connect it back around towards the end.
And I think cutting back to his parents is a good move right here. Like, it's funny. Oh, no.
Well, now we know right there that Sherman's coming back, right? Because see, they just destroyed the formula.
Yeah, he keeps because he like made him drop the big jug of it.
Yep.
And then the little bit of it.
So there's no formula left.
Well, you don't know. He could
him
have
right now.
He could have another vial in his pocket. We don't know. He never said this is the last vial of the formula.
See, I don't know what Buddy Love is trying to do to stop Sherman at this point.
So Sherman,
if only the tonic's going to do it.
Yeah, so he wants to pull out another vial of formula or maybe lick it off the floor. Anything to give him a couple more minutes, so that he can continue being Buddy Love.
See, now at the end of this movie, he and Jada Pinkett Smith are together, right?
Yep.
And see, in reality, you'd probably be like, hey, listen, I like you a lot, but you certainly have issues you need to work through. Right. I don't think this is a healthy relationship to get into right now.
Right. You've been using a drug.
It's the second time his mom just passed out.
That's exactly what they were thinking, Tucker. They're like, here's a great opportunity.
Oh, his hair pops back, too. It makes his hair shorter.
Mm-hmm. This is another moment, too, where he really kind of nails the emotional quality of it. Oh, Sherman. Look at that woman behind up to the left of like Jada Pink. She's just like kind of staring down her dress a little bit. Oh, and then they cut her out of the shot.
Yeah. Buddy.
Yep. It's true. You would do just about anything to get it.
I killed a homeless guy yesterday. Had to do it. You learn a lesson at the end.
This movie did teach me a lot about who I was.
Did it?
Yeah, it really did. Because I think that there's a lot of truth to that, like you can work hard and you know, and you want to be healthy, right? That's what you want to be, is you want to be healthy. But some people are predisposed to being larger. Some people have you know, big bushy facial hair. Some people don't. I mean, there's a million things about you that could be changed from one person to the next, and you just need to be happy with who you are.
Yeah.
You need to be happy with how you won the genetic lottery.
You know, I think the ending of Dodgeball is actually pretty cool, where they're like, you know, here at our gym, you know, you're fine just the way you are, but if you want to lose a few pounds, come on over.
Yeah.
You know? Certainly, if you can lose weight, you should, because your health will thank you for it. But
there's another character actor we can add. Alan Tudyk would be great in our character actor movie.
Yeah.
Maybe, in fact, maybe it's an Amazon original show like Alpha House, where all the character actors live together in the same like bungalow, because none of them are big enough stars where they can afford their own place. Even though these guys are all huge stars.
Who would be some female character actors that would be part of this cast?
Ooh, good question. Megan Mullally probably is one of them.
Oh yeah.
Just happened to bring a tuxedo for Sherman,
just in case he won. You know. So, I've actually blanked out on what this whole party is for.
This is to like a fundraiser.
Okay.
And so Harlan Hartley came to this
That's
fundraiser
right.
because he was going to donate a bunch of money. So that's interesting, because the dean's sole job, it seems like in this, is to make sure that he gets the alumni to just donate money. And I think the check was like for $10,000. So if your university is going to make or break on $10,000, gentlemen.
That's what did it for him. It's like, oh, he's a gentleman. That's good.
I like how everyone goes back to, it's, you know, hey, everything's okay, even though they just witnessed something truly
Something
horrific.
insane. Like, why is there not media there going,
Yeah.
what just happened? Why didn't people go running for the door when that happened?
Whoa. This movie opens with the song Macho Man, which is also brilliantly used, I think, almost around the same time frame in the movie In and Out.
Okay.
They use
love
Macho
In and
Man as the dance sequence, but then at the end, it's like at the wedding, they play Macho Man. It's great. Wonderful stuff. Oh, here it is again.
Macho Man. You know,
And then a great blooper reel. Phenomenal blooper reel.
that was a real one.
I love watching someone as talented as Eddie Murphy, like, losing it, like, because you know that, like, something just tickled him just right.
I think that's one thing that definitely it can be shared between all comedians, those who are nice and those who aren't.
Yeah.
Is that they do appreciate the most important thing to them are the things that make them laugh.
Yeah. See, that's that improv right there, right? Like, have you ever seen when, like, someone's supposed to, like, be eating in a movie and they've got that bucket next to them where they just spit the food back out?
Yep.
Blah.
Yeah. I want to see who's in the fat suit to her left.
Just I would like to be part of the ADR crew who make farts.
I wonder where this kid is now.
So this kid was in Old School, and he was originally the kid, I believe, who was cast to play Fat Albert in the Forrest Whitaker version of the Fat Albert movie.
Oh, we'll never get a different Fat Albert movie
Nope, never.
because that dude is
Come on,
evil.
Cletus, come on.
What was the first movie that showed bloopers at the end of it? Would it have been one of those like celebrity chase movies, like where they're all like Cannonball Run or something?
Probably.
I wonder.
Because, I mean, the Cannonball Run blooper reels are pretty epic.
By the way, folks, this commentary is continuing through the credits.
Oh, yeah,
So don't
yeah.
think we're stopping now.
Oh, Steve Urgurici.
Shout out to Dan Sweetman, one of the storyboard artists.
On-set dresser Mark Travis Little and John H. Maxwell. I'm not seeing a lot of female names here. Oh, Beth Miller.
Beth and a Judy. But their hair and makeup.
Tony, Toni. Is that a female version of Tony? Like Tony would be the male version?
Yep,
or
I
can you
believe so.
spell it either way?
I believe so. Someone had to coordinate the special effects.
I mean, look at this. That special effects crew is not huge,
Teeny
considering
tiny.
that this movie had a lot of special effects.
And also there is a designation between special effects and computer effects.
Yep.
So special effects is basically an actual thing that happened in like a physical effect.
Right.
And
like
then it's
Shelley the obese.
Exactly.
I guess that could technically be puppetry too.
But but I think that still would count as a special effect in some way.
Yeah.
But if it's made through a computer, it's not technically considered a special effect. It's considered a computer effect. So yeah, I mean, yeah, this is a very small credits list compared to like the movies that come now.
Hamster Caretakers, Michael Bullion and Nicole Norton, both of them.
Good job, guys.
Well done.
Do you think they had their most famous, their favorite hamsters, and they got the close-ups?
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah.
Mr. Piggles is getting this close-up.
Yeah. And Brandon is the one that ends up in the sandwich.
Brandon the hamster.
Re-record at Universal Studios sound facility. So have you ever taken a backstage tour? Like Universal has an amazing backstage tour. So does Warner Brothers. I think they stopped the one at Paramount, but it's neat because you ride around on this trolley and you get to interact with some of the stuff that's there. When we were on the when I and my friend Jared were on the Universal tour, there was a bit about the Nutty Professor where you could like see the Sherman fat suit.
Oh.
Now, interesting fact, a couple years ago, they sold the Sherman Clump fat suit.
Huh.
And you could bid on it online
Wow.
and buy one of the old fat suits, which would have been interesting.
I bet it smelled.
Oh, God, yeah, I was definitely right.
But it was very smelly.
Super bad, Macho Man, I got you, I feel good, this is how we do it, something for da honeys, bounce to this, emotionally in love, close the door, boys will be boys, I'm so excited, homework, sexy mother forget it,
Sexy and a mother.
in the mood, stroking, Little Brown Jug, and loving you. Stroking was in this? I'd be stroking.
Must have. Def Jam recordings.
The Biltmore Hotel. Yeah, all shot there in Los Angeles.
Streetlights Production Assistant Program. I wonder what that means. They shot some of this in Australia. I just saw Australia manager there.
Really? Well, there you go. I wonder what part. Oh, back in the day when you used color
probably
film
East Australia.
versus West Australia.
Yeah. A lot of people don't know this. There is no West Australia. There's only an East.
The characters in events in this film is something I've always thought was interesting that they add to movies because when would it ever be I mean, has it ever happened where someone's like, I developed a potion and you stole my story?
But I think it's also like if someone's name is Ms. Purdy, like it's like we weren't making you this character. We're making this other character.
Sure, I can understand that. All right, gang. That was The Nutty Professor from 1996, starring Mr. Eddie Murphy in, let's see, okay, so he plays Sherman, Buddy Love, his mom, his dad, his brother, his grandmother, Lance Perkins, and the woman below. So that's 8.
Okay.
Eight different
eight
characters. You only see 7, but plays 8. I guess if
you like this, maybe send us suggestions for a movie you'd like to see us do this to again.
I've wanted to do a podcast called Streep Tease, where we watch a Meryl Streep movie in order from the beginning of Meryl's career all the way up to her most current films. And we don't necessarily do a commentary during it, but we do a little, this is what this movie was
Sort of
afterwards.
like a post-mortem on it.
Yeah, because, I mean, I'm any excuse to watch Silkwood.
Sure.
Any excuse.
I'll take it.
Have you ever seen It's Complicated, the one that she did? There's a scene with Alec Baldwin in it where they have just recently made love. And there's a moment where even when I watch it now, I go, whoa! That just takes me out of the moment because it is graphic.
Really?
It is super graphic. And I wonder if it was planned. We'll see. We'll see. Okay. Let's load up Nutty Professor 2, The Clumps.
JJ Meets World.
That does it for today's episode. Thank you so much for joining us on this special first ever trial of a DVD commentary link up on JJ Meets World. Now, here's the next step. You're probably in front of a computer right now. Let's face it, everyone is, with your phones and your laptops and your I don't know, your Apples, just your Apple in general, if you can log on that. If you could head over to patreon.com/JJMeetsWorld and give us a donation, we can continue putting out episode after episode, 2 a week. They don't cost you anything. A little donation in our direction makes a huge, huge difference, folks. We are going to keep putting out episodes to the best of our abilities, but we've got equipment upgrades and we have dreams to bring you even higher quality content. The way we can do that is by you sharing some of your precious dollars. Now, I'm not asking for a whole paycheck here. I'm asking for the price of a cup of coffee. I'm asking for you to not go see The Meg in theaters for a third time. You can wait until that's on Redbox or, digital on demand. Let's face it. So patreon.com/JJMeetsWorld. It's a great way to help us keep the lights on around here. And hey, while you're on the web, why not swing over to moonbasemaria.com? That is the internet home of my producer and good friend Tucker Lucas. You can see what he's up to these days, and you can see some videos of me dressed up like a giant baby. You can also head over to linebenders.com and get in touch with your host with the most. That's my website. It's also the home of the Linebenders, a comedy improv troupe that I manage and perform with. They are super awesome, and we are booking out holiday parties right now. So if you want to have us for a retirement party or a client celebration, or heck, maybe you just want to have us in your living room and watch us dance for you, we are not above that. So linebenders.com for JJ, moonbasemaria.com for Tucker. Last, certainly not least, subscribe to JJ Meets World. You can find us on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, wherever you consume the podcast that you love. Click subscribe. While you're doing that, why not rate us as well? We love a good rating. We especially love the folks who've put a rating in there saying how they enjoy the conversation because it reminds them of the stuff that they would be talking about with their friends. So let's put a bow on this one by talking about the thing that no one has wanted to talk about. Eddie Murphy made a movie called Meet Dave, where it was about a bunch of aliens in a ship that looked like Eddie Murphy, and so it looked like a human was walking around. And the thing that is the weirdest part about the promotion is they built a giant Eddie Murphy head on the front of a car, and they drove it around America. There's a car big enough where you could crawl up into the nose. Here's my question. Who owns that car now? Who owns the Murphy-mobile? To eBay!